Heyo! Just making a quick video for this week before I get into the rivals. I know that I said I would do Osana, but there were certain things I wanted to elaborate on to paint a more clear picture of how my hypothetical Yonsim game would look. This way you guys would have a better understanding of my vision. And we will be able to establish some ground rules for the series. Also, quick disclaimer, I am not making an actual Yonsim game. This is all just a big hypothetical. I'm not a game developer. I'm just an amateur artist that likes to sit in my room and overthink character concepts and storylines all in my head. Also, for new viewers, from this point on, I won't be recapping the story for my version of Yonsim, so I suggest watching my Ayano and Taro video before continuing with this one. This is just so you won't be lost when I start talking about certain changes I made. So, sorry for any newcomers, but I promise that watching these videos won't take too long, so I'll see you then. Now with those people gone, let's actually continue. So where to begin? So in this video, I will explain the changes I'll be making in retaliation of the game's shortcomings. Meaning, I'm going to be simplifying the hell out of the story. I already mentioned that I was getting rid of a lot of unnecessary lore stuff, but there are various other things in the game that I want gone. But in turn, I will be expanding upon the main plot. Another thing, but I want to share some new ideas for Taro and Ayano that I've recently added. I think some of you may not like this change, but at least hear me out. So, I decided that Taro already likes Ayano. Yes, boo me all you want, but I know what you're all thinking. But casserole! If they both already like each other, then what's the point of even playing the game? As I said, Ayano personally can't confess to Senpai because of her own insecurities. She has to defeat each rival in order to build her confidence to confess. But in Taro's case, he only just met Ayano, but after getting closer to her, he will start to develop feelings for her. But not to the point where he wants to pursue her. In order for that to happen, you have to continue to play through the game. This way, Taro and Ayano's relationship can build up and continue to grow, which leads into your potential happy ending. Also, Ayano doesn't know Taro is romantically attracted to her, so she has every reason to be jealous, and to her, she believes it's justified to kill people. And if you take the genocide route, Ayano will be there to comfort Taro in a twisted sense, so it'll give Taro more of a reason to feel more comfortable around her, especially because she sticks with him through his more vulnerable moments. But there are also bigger lore reasons for this throughout each rival story, so I really won't get into the nitty-gritty of this, so you'll have to wait for those videos in the future. My next controversial change, I'm getting rid of every single NPC from Yonsim's original story. Like I said, Alex likes to shoehorn a lot of unnecessary lore into the game, and for a premise as simple as Yonsim, having various NPCs with their own unique designs, models, backgrounds, and so on is just extremely unnecessary. Look, I know some people are going to be bummed out by this since there are some prominent NPCs that have a lot of fans who have grown very attached to these characters, but because they don't contribute to the main story, I don't care to keep them, and that's final. So, I'm sorry to any fans of these characters, but the main plot should be the top priority over the smaller details. Not to get into a rant, but it grinds my gears when a piece of media with a simple plot tries so hard to be ambitious that it ends up suffocating its own story. In this case, Yonsim isn't some open-world gacha game where its world building and abundance of characters is needed. I don't care if Alex did all of this to make the school atmosphere more quote-unquote lively, when that doesn't even contribute to Yonsim's main story. I mean, this is a horror game after all, not a school simulator. If that were the case, it wouldn't be called Yandere Simulator. But yeah, sorry, had to go into a quick tangent there. But a general rule of thumb I always have is to simplify your story. Maybe this is a hot take, but if you know that you can't make something on a massive scale, then don't do it. If you have too many ideas or characters that don't contribute to the plot, then please cut them out. You can always repurpose these ideas for the future, and like I said before, sometimes less is more. While I would love to sit here and complain about Yonsim's lack of impulse control in terms of both story and game, I know I would be here all day, so let's actually get into the other ideas I want to discuss with you guys. Like I said, I'm getting rid of the NPCs, and in turn, I'll be replacing them with very plain background character designs. You won't be able to speak with most of them, but maybe if I decide to add some fetch quests, you can speak to specific ones for a rival story. It depends since my ideas for the NPC characters is still pretty rough at the moment, but we'll see what I decide on in the future. Moving on, I mentioned before that the setting of the story takes place in a small town set in Japan. While I was trying to look through some places, I decided that since I don't have any living experiences in Japan, that it would be better to make up a fictional town, similar to how Silent Hill has Ebisugaoka. I'm sorry if I mispronounce that, by the way. But unfortunately, I am not very good when it comes to making up names for things. Even in my own personal story, I tend to have placeholder names until I find something that truly resonates with me, but usually I am always at a blank. So it'd be nice if you guys could give me some ideas in the comments. But in the original Yansim, you do have access to 3 locations. These consist of Ayano's home, the town, and the school. Originally, I was going to get rid of the other 2 locations since the main focus of the game should be placed at the school, but I decided to keep these ideas since these features do somewhat contribute to the story that I've written. However, I will be simplifying these to a massive degree. So let's start unpacking. Okay, right here you will see that this is my rough ideas for the map of the school, town, and both Ayano and Taro's home. And yes, I did just say Taro. So let's get into the school first. Last video, I mentioned that only certain areas of the map would be locked, and these can slowly be accessed after completing a rival story quest. I also wanted to mention that I changed Academy High School, or in this case, insert town names, middle school's map to be a smaller area. The reason why I made this change was so the player can get more comfortable with their surroundings before slowly progressing and gaining access to new areas. This way, you can get a feel for your rival schedule and how you want to scheme your eliminations. Okay, so I'm not quite sure which areas will belong to each rival yet, but we'll see in the future. For now, I'll develop things as I go. Next is the small town. So Yansim's town is already fairly simple, but I'm going to be cranking up the simplicity even more. Instead of having an actual map for a player to walk around in, the style of the town will take on a more visual novel-esque type of look. The only thing I really drew was one simple store, but other than that, in the actual hypothetical game, the store will take on a 2D style, and game-wise, I imagine that it would work like a RPG-style game, so similar to games like Undertale where it's more text-based and reading-heavy, so less visuals basically. Since Ayano does need some currency to purchase certain things for her tasks, you can choose to work for the store, or you can even ask her parents for some money. Note that there is a limit of how much money they will give you, and also, that's right, I did say her parents, and they are still in Japan. Since Ryoba is no longer a Yandere, she won't need to flee the country to do her own unnecessary side quests, which is a perfect segue into Ayano's home. As I said, Ryoba and Yanchan's dad are still present, so they'll exist in 2D form for the player to interact with. But, like the small town, this will act more like a visual novel sequence where you can access very few rooms. Unfortunately, this means that you will no longer be able to kidnap people like the original game. But you still have a lot of privacy when it comes to planning out murders and hiding weapons in your room. Like I said, Ayano's parents tend to neglect her and leave her to her own devices, so they'll give you a lot of privacy. Plus, they wouldn't ever suspect that their daughter, who is extremely obedient and well-behaved, would ever be scheming anything dangerous in her room. But that leaves us with the final area, Taro's home. Okay, to be honest, I won't reveal too much because there are some future plot relevant things that I have in mind when we reach Hanako, so because of this, I won't show too many visuals, but instead briefly share a few things. So like Yanchan's family, Taro's parents will also be present. You can interact with them a little bit, and mostly learn some stuff about Taro's family. His mother is ill, so she'll be resting in her own room. Like Yanchan, Taro will have his own room and some other essential areas that any other home should have. And just another quick side tangent, I honestly didn't do any in-depth research when it came to the architecture for the settings I made, so I didn't feel like my drawings were the best here, neither are they very accurate. Backgrounds aren't really my strong suit, so I hope that the general aesthetic I was going for translated well enough. Oh, and also, for the time frame of the story, I don't know for sure what era I would want the game to take place in, but I do know for sure that technology won't be heavily involved since the game will no longer take place in our modern world. But yeah, with all of the map areas out of the way, let's move on to the actual game mechanics. So the first main game mechanic I've thought of was journaling. A lot of other rewrites have this concept, and so do other pre-existing games, but here is my take on it. For journaling, Ayano will have an entry ready for every rival, but the twist is that you actually have to investigate and access routes in order to eliminate your rivals. Not sure how the mechanics would work in detail, but I know that as you investigate, you unlock information, and with enough of it, you can start choosing whichever elimination methods you desire. And I'll go into the specific methods in each rival's video. Plot-wise, Ayano will journal as a way to deal with her thoughts. This way, she attempts to articulate how she perceives the world. This can also be used as an organic way to explain the opening sequence of the game, and if I care enough, I'll make a rough animatic of this. But I'm not gonna lie, this video itself took a lot out of me just because of the amount of stuff I had to draw and research, so we gotta reach a certain amount of likes to convince me to do all of that. So let's say maybe 10k. Me when I set the goal to something unrealistic so I don't have to actually make it. Other than that, this will be a natural way for Ayano to introduce herself to the player, which allows you to connect with Ayano as you read through her journal entries. Speaking of the journal entries, because I've constantly described Yanshan as a wallflower, I decided that she actually characterizes herself as one. And in each entry she has, for every rival, they will have a type of flower that represents them through Ayano's eyes. I just thought that this would be a cute personal quirk where she likes to categorize people that are significant in her life as plants. So instead of pictures of the rival's face, they will actually get a flower icon. But aside from that, when it comes to finishing a story route, after you defeat a rival, you can collect an item from them. For example, if you choose the pacifist route, a rival will give you the item. But if you choose the genocide route, you will take it by force. And these aren't just achievements, by the way. These will actually give Ayano buffs throughout the game. However, the items you take will have different meanings depending on the route, and after defeating a rival, they will teach Ayano a valuable lesson. And side note, I've already planned out every rival's moral lesson, so I'm excited to reveal those in the future. The final thing I wanted to address was Taro's in-game features. For Ayano and Taro's after-school talks, I don't think I properly explained my ideas for this mechanic. In the last video, I was a bit brief, so I'll do my best to be more in-depth here. So the point of this mechanic is actually to further solidify the route you want to pursue in the game. So when Taro asks Ayano questions, you can either respond with something lighthearted or grim. To be clear, the answers you select won't result in immediate game overs. This is only meant to determine the player's overall outcome for the game's ending. Story-wise, this will impact Ayano's psyche and determine her viewpoints in the story. Also, I'll be elaborating more on Taro's hintbox features. So, since Info-chan is gone, Taro will be the one to have info on the rivals. This would only make sense since Taro personally knows the rivals. And I don't believe that Taro would be suspicious of Ayano if she asks certain questions. Unless she asks way too many questions. The feature can be accessed by clicking on this letter icon, which in theory should open up and reveal a note from Taro. There is also a warning in your first playthrough that briefly lets the player know that hints are only for emergencies. This way the player can choose whether or not they want a hint or not. Also, it would make way more sense to rely on a source that's actually available to Ayano than relying on some weirdo pervert that monitors the whole school and demands you for penny shots in return. And another thing, I have to clarify this since I failed to mention this in the last video, but this is a completely optional feature. If the game becomes too difficult, you can use Taro's advice, but because there is a limit, it would be recommended to not overly rely on him. That's why I said in the last video that it's best for you to not overuse the hints. But other than that, that's all I have to share with you guys. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, or give me any sort of feedback that you may have. At the moment, I'm kind of at a blank for how I'll handle rival eliminations, but I do know for certain that they will become more gritty and brutal the more you play through the game. But that's about it. So I hope you guys have a more clear understanding of my hypothetical Yansim game now, and a better idea of the vibe I'm going for. I'm sure that this was honestly a lot of information overload, so seriously, thank you lots for listening and watching till the end. And I know I said this last time, but next video will actually be about Osana. I promise. But as always, like and subscribe so I can pump out more content like this. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one, so bye-bye!
I spend between 8 and 12 hours going through my email, leaving me with no time left in the day to write code for the game.